Hey guys, Miss Warren here. I wanted to do an example of the sketches that we're going to be doing. These are practice for when we do a portrait based on a photograph. Now, I'm going to help you all with some basic proportions. Proportions are how one part compares to the other, like how big are the eyes compared to the size of the head, how big is the nose, and where is it compared to the eyes, and that sort of thing. I'm going to be drawing a front facing view of a person, a profile, that means facing to the side, a 3/4 view, and then I'm going to zoom in and actually use my photo reference to draw some features. So these three, when I draw them, are really going to be kind of how a cartoonist would draw them. It's not going to be hyper realistic. It's more of a process and a formula on how most people are proportioned. Now, many people have many different faces, so sometimes proportions are a little bit different, but I'm going to be showing y'all average proportions on here. And I'm going to be doing mostly an adult, like a child would have larger and lower eyes. An older person might have a larger nose and ears. So I'm going to be showing y'all mostly like an adult. Okay, so if I were going to start on just a front-facing person, the first thing I would do is kind of draw a loose circle where I would want the top of the head to be. Now, the skull is basically like a circle. The cranium, where your brain is like a circle, and then you have your eye sockets, your nose, and you have your top jaw where your teeth are coming off that. Then you have your bottom jaw, which is a separate bone. It's a separate bone from your cranium, and then you have your bottom teeth connected there. So this is kind of like the top where the cranium would be, and then I'm going to kind of draw the jawline. Here I can kind of decide, do I want a rounder face? Do I want a more narrow face? So the jaw comes down, curves at the edge, and then you have to be sure you add the chin in too. Come down, curve in. It's almost like a loose triangle at the bottom. Slants in, but then slants across. Okay, so there's my basic face shape. Now I'm going to divide it up to make sure it's correct proportions. So I'm going to draw a line approximately down the middle, because when the face is looking directly at you, it's going to be symmetrical. It's going to be mirrored on each side. So then I'm going to divide it about in the middle with a kind of curved line. So halfway between the top of the head and the bottom of the chin is where your eyes are going to be. Halfway between that line, about here, is where your nose is going to fall. And halfway between your nose and your chin is about where your mouth is. I'm going to draw a little bit of a neck on this person. I'm going to slightly scoop out. Then I'm going to slant. This little muscle here is called the trapezius muscle. If you're really muscular, this will really stick out. And then I'm going to round off to the shoulders. Now, this is a common mistake in portraits for beginners, that they draw the body the same width as the head. Normally, the body on an average adult is about 3 heads wide, or at least 2.5. A big, strong guy would be 3 heads wide. The kind of skinny person would be like 2.5. Okay, so there I have my shoulders. Okay, now I'm going to start with where I want to put the eyes. You want at least an eye space between the 2 eyes and about an eye space on either side. Okay, so I just drew that really lightly. A lot of these lines I'm going to end up erasing. Then I'm going to go through and I'm going to darken the upper eye line. I'm going to just do like a curved arc here and a curved arc here to kind of place my 2 eyes. Then for the pupil and the iris, I'm going to draw half a circle here. Now, the only time you would draw a whole circle in an eye is if you were really surprised. Otherwise, if you're relaxed, the top bit of your iris is going to be covered by your top eyelid. And then since you have an eyeball in your head, the bottom lid wraps around the eyeball. I put the pupil in. I'm gonna not fully color it in because if I leave a little bit of a reflected light, it looks more alive. I can kind of shade it in where the eye is supposed to be colored just a little bit, but I leave a little bit of light in the bottom because that also makes it look more alive. Okay, now I'm gonna add some eyebrows above it. I'm going to erase these extra lines around there. I'm going to keep that center line so things are even. Now, I'm going to start drawing the nose. Now, depending on what kind of nose they have, my nose sticks way out, so I would draw a pretty harsh line here. Some people don't have a very high bridge in their nose, so you would just kind of imply a little shadow. Then down here, I'm going to curve the center of the nose this way, and then I'm going to curve the nostrils this way, and kind of scoop the nostrils in between. Now, the corners of the nostrils should, in most cases, line up about with the corners of the eyes, like this. The edges of the nostrils kind of line up with the edges of the eye if you want it to be proportional. And I'm going to just imply a slight shadow on one side. I'm going to blend it out because I don't need a harsh line because then it will look funny. I'm going to erase this extra line here, this extra line down the middle. Might even fade out this because that shadow is kind of harsh. Now, if your nose is a little more rounded, you can put a little more shadow to emphasize like the bulbous center of the nose. Your nostrils are a little more, come up a little bit higher, you can do that as well. Okay, so there's the basic nose. Now to draw the mouth, I'm gonna start with the center line. Most people have a little dip here below their Cupid's bow, and then the corners of your mouth normally go out to the centers of your eyes. If you want them to smile, I like to put just a little bit of a line here and here. Now, if this is a more masculine mouth, I'm going to draw the upper lip, kind of like a stretched out heart shape. Shade it in. And I'm going to just draw a little shadow and not connect it if it's more of a boy's face. If it's a girl's face, I connect it all the way because it makes it look more feminine. I'm going to erase these extra marking lines that I have. I'm going to kind of shape the head. I think I'm going to make the cheekbones stick out a little bit. I'm going to bring the jawline in. Make it look a little more masculine. The more like square and harsh the curves are on the chin and the face, the more masculine it will look. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this line here. Now, if you're going to draw some ears on this person, I'm going to fill out the eyebrows a little bit. Ears normally go from about the eyebrow to the nose. So I'm going to draw the ears, scoop in a little bit on either side. You know, since his face looks so strong, I'm going to define his muscles a little bit more over here. And when I put the shirt on him, I'm going to make it wrap, curve slightly around the back of his neck. Going to make his neck muscles go. Okay, now I'm going to add the hair. If you want the cheekbones to look like they stick out a little bit more, you can put a little bit of a shadow. If you want the face to stand out a little bit more, you can put a little shadow on the neck. If you want the nose to look like it sticks out a little bit more, you can put a shadow around the nose. So now I'm going to add some hair. I'm going to add some short hair, like some sideburns to the sides. I think I'm going to give him curly hair. So where it's short, it's kind of like a tiny little C shape. And it holds tight to the head. Now I think on the top, I want to do a big mop of curly hair. So I'm going to do like loose C shapes. And make it bigger than the head is. I'm going to fill in the area here with short hair. I'm going to darken up the curls a little bit. Give them more eyebrows. So that is a basic forward-facing portrait.